Hey there, Internet Keith here, and welcome to the Cars and Keith YouTube channel. And it's that time of year, it's winter time, which means really cold car washing. I picked up a couple different types of gloves. I've also picked up a pair of waterproof shoes. So these are Cyclid waterproof shoes. It's a 12 and a half. I normally wear like 11 and a half, but you should wear a size bigger in these based off all the reviews. It is a 4-star review. It's not like 4.5 stars, but most of the complaints that I was seeing was just the wrong size. Once you figured out that these need to be run a little bit bigger, you're good to go. KingCast is the name of this company. This is a very well-known company in the fishing world for this type of stuff. It's waterproof. This is the Tipius diving glove. They're not necessarily waterproof, they're water resistant, but they keep your hands warm in the wet, but also allow you to maneuver pretty well. These were really on sale. These were only like $16. They're normally $30. These were $30. With my new job, I've been driving the X1 a lot lately, so I haven't started hiding in 2 weeks. So before we get any further into the video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Plenty of content on the channel, plenty of content along the way. Let's get right into the video. Now I probably won't go over our washing routine too in depth. I have tons of videos on that. I'm using a bucket, which I don't normally use, but we got our waterproof shoes on here. I'm going to use the waterproof gloves first because if the diving gloves make my hands wet, it's going to kind of interrupt how I feel about these. And another thing about just washing in general, it's good for your pressure washer to make sure everything's nice and tight and not leaking, but also in the wintertime you don't want that stuff getting onto your hands. If it's got a little leak here but it's still operating, go ahead and tighten it up or maybe change out that fitting to make sure it isn't leaking. You notice also I'm not wearing anything too thick. This fleece is warm. I'm going to work up a little bit of a sweat anyway, washing the car, a pair of jeans. I don't want anything too restrictive. I also don't want anything that's too bulky that I'm just going to get soap and foam all over my clothes. So here's the gloves kind of up close. Just neoprene gloves. They actually fit pretty tight around the wrist, so I'm going to try these on for you. So they're nice and thick, so you could put them over your jacket, or you could put your jacket over them, whichever you feel like. I just think I'm just going to pull my jacket back and leave it like that. They fit pretty good. Like I said, XL. You want them a little bit tight. They're not super tight. I think they work pretty good. You can see I can grip. We're going to see how I'm able to handle the gun, because the SGS 28 gun is a little small. I might have to change over to the bigger gun. Nope, it's pretty good. I got plenty of room to fit my hand in, hold the grip. Pretty good. So pre-rinse, we got W4 from G-Technic in here. This is set to not be too foamy, just kind of runny, just to kind of get everything off the car. The foamy stuff will hold for the mitt wash. I'm feeling a little bit of fatigue in my hand right here because you know how much larger this glove is, and my clasping power, it's taking a lot more effort to keep this clasp, and this is a really easy trigger, but getting a little fatigue. I'm not used to it. Probably get used to it over time though. So for the rinse, we're going to use the Tipius diving gloves. These are way tighter, like XL. I'm like struggling to get my hands in here, but I'm hoping that allows me to have a little more dexterity. We'll see. Obviously you kind of want your gloves to be tight when you're diving, or these are also swimming gloves as well. Then you have this nice Velcro right here, that way you can keep the water from coming in this way. Yeah, these definitely feel, they're a lot easier to bend, but am I going to be able to handle them getting all wet, or would I rather have them dry with a little bit of hand fatigue? Alright, so we got them all on. Yeah, we can definitely fit our hand in there a lot better. It's less bulky overall. Fits pretty good. I'm not feeling a ton of fatigue in my hands. It is tight in the crevices down here, so I'm feeling that a little bit, but like I said, would you rather have your hands cold? So this is a little thing I like to do when the foam is a little thick and doesn't seem like it's wanting to run off. I come back and I mist it down. That way it kind of works itself off a little bit better. I had to switch hands. Little fatigue in the right hand, same as I was feeling with the other gloves. It's just that the amount of effort it's taking to pull the glove down with the tightness near the fingers. I can tell you one thing, I'm having no problem with these waterproof shoes. They are actually very comfortable. Even with that pressure, I don't feel anything. Great. So onto the mitt wash. We're going to foam in the car really thick with the MJJC here using G-Technic G-Wash. So overall, between the two gloves, when it comes to just rinsing and foaming with the spray gun, which isn't leaking on my hands, so I shouldn't get any water on them, they both feel pretty good. Like I said, they're both a little tight on the finger areas here, which is causing a little bit of fatigue. I don't think that would change if you got a bigger glove, because I think it would just take even more effort because there's even more weight on there to pull down. It's just something to get used to. So I'm going to do it both ways. This half of the car, I'm going to use the diving gloves. Half of it with my hand inside the mitt, the other half with my hand outside the mitt, putting my hand in the bucket as much as possible and seeing what happens. So dip it in the bucket. Let my hand just sit there. I feel the water already getting into the glove. My hand is getting a little bit cold, but not as cold as it could be if you had regular gloves on, because these are meant to keep your hand warm while you're underwater. It's actually not that cold. It's about 45 degrees outside. Now also, if you're using city water or even groundwater, the water in the ground is probably warmer than it is outside right now, so that kind of feels a little bit warmer. But I felt the coldness on my hand with this glove. Now notice the difference between having my regular hand in here and the glove. I don't seem to have as much control over the mitt, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to the outside. I was talking about the mitt, you know, to control it from this far away. That way you don't have to touch the top of the roof, you're just kind of slinging it around up there. Now on a door panel like this, especially a car where the tires are a little bit further outside the wheel wells, you're going to get a lot of sling on the side of the car, especially if there's dirt or rain or anything. That's why I do one flip the glove on the top, and then I'll flip it to the other side to do the bottom. And always work from the top down. Alright, it's time to switch gloves. What I can tell you already is I feel the water inside the gloves, but it's not that cold. It feels wet. But that's kind of the purpose of a diving glove. So if you can handle being wet, or if you're using warm water, pretty good. For me, I don't necessarily like the wet. Feels a little weird, and if you're outside washing for a little bit, your hands are going to get a little wrinkly. So we got the King Cast gloves on. I can tell you already, they feel much warmer than the diving gloves, even when they weren't wet. But when they were wet, my hand wasn't that cold, but it was a weird feeling, more or less. Felt like your hand was just bare. But we'll see how these work with the mitt wash. Let's do a test. Hand in the water. I feel no water at all. Squidgy my hands, messing with the seams. I feel nothing. Awesome. So there you go. Clear winner is the King Cast gloves. One thing to note, your hand will sweat inside of these because obviously it's not breathing as well as a regular glove. But it's a nice warm feeling. Obviously when you take them off in the cold weather, your hands are going to feel cold. So it's nice to have a dry towel nearby to get your hands dried off. But I'm actually getting used to them. The fatigue wasn't there on this second round of rinsing. Maybe the gloves are just working in my hands, got to break them in a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed the video, kind of something a little bit different, kind of to show you how I do things in the winter, what I've added to my arsenal for the winter time, some tips and tricks. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. I picked up a couple different types. I picked up a couple different types of. Now I probably won't go over every single. And another thing about the cold. So that's the. So that was flipping the back. This part of the car is kept outside under it. Where you keep the car outside, your roof could be part of the. Oh, man. We'll see how these work. Thank you. Thank you, Active. Every 5 minutes on cue. These are definitely warmer than the other ones. They feel. So before we, oh my gosh. So before we get any further in the video, go ahead and hit a like. Oh my gosh. So before we get any further in the video, go ahead. So before we get any further into the video, go ahead and like. Oh, what am I doing? So before we get any further into the video, go ahead and. What am I? So before we get any further into the video. My mouth doesn't work anymore.